The conversation surrounding Team USA women's basketball has officially changed. Whether people want to admit it or not, Caitlin Clark is the reason. The moment her name is spoken in this context, the entire old system begins to crack. This is no longer just about selecting a roster. It's about philosophy. It's about whether Team USA is choosing players based on who they used to be, or who they actually are right now. Let's be direct. Caitlin Clark should be the starting point guard for Team USA. No hesitation. No qualifiers. No, but she's young. She is the best thing to happen to women's basketball in decades, and pretending otherwise only delays the inevitable. Pair her with Jackie Young at the 2, and you instantly have the most dangerous backcourt in international basketball. Clark controls tempo, spacing, and vision. Jackie Young brings defense, physical strength, and championship experience. That is balance. That is modern basketball. Move to the wing, and this is where the real debate begins. Kahleah Copper at the 3 makes sense if the priority is physicality and downhill pressure. She attacks, defends, and impacts the game without needing the ball. At the 4, versatility matters more than tradition. This isn't about post-ups anymore. It's about switching, rebounding, and covering space on the floor. And at the 5, Aaliyah Boston is the anchor. She protects the rim, finishes efficiently, and doesn't need constant touches to be effective. That starting 5 alone represents a complete break from how USA basketball has traditionally operated. Historically, Team USA values continuity over dominance and experience over current form. That's how Olympic rosters ended up filled with veterans who were no longer playing at an elite level, while younger stars watched from home. That is exactly what happened in 2024, when Caitlin Clark was left off the Paris Olympic roster despite delivering one of the most dominant rookie seasons the league has ever seen. Clark averaged over 19 points and more than 8 assists per game, led the league in three-point makes, and pulled Indiana back into relevance for the first time in years. Meanwhile, the player selected over her, Chelsea Gray, was coming off an injury, playing limited minutes, and showing declining production. That decision ignited a firestorm. Not simply because Clark is popular, but because the numbers were undeniable. So when people argue that this new roster idea disrespects veterans, the real question becomes, disrespectful to whom? If performance doesn't matter, then what exactly are we rewarding? Now look at the bench, because this is where the generational shift becomes impossible to ignore. Kelsey Plum coming off the bench is a luxury most countries can't even imagine. Paige Bueckers gives you elite defense, shooting, and composure in high-pressure moments. That alone speaks to how much the game, and the standard, has changed. 4 guards total: Clark, Young, Plum, and Bueckers. And here is the hard truth many people don't want to hear: you don't need more guards than that. International basketball is spacing heavy, perimeter-driven, and fast. Those 4 cover everything, which means someone doesn't make the cut. And yes, that someone is Chelsea Gray. Gray has had an incredible career. Finals MVP, Olympic gold medalist, a true point guard in every sense of the word, but she is not the same player anymore. Injuries have slowed her down. The burst is gone. The numbers reflect it. In 2024, she averaged just over 10 points and fewer than 5 assists per game. Solid. Respectable. But not elite. This is where fans struggle emotionally, because they remember who she was, not who she is. Team USA has historically leaned into that nostalgia. That's how Sue Bird played into her 40s. That's how Diana Taurasi stayed on Olympic rosters long after her on-court impact declined. Leadership matters, but leadership without production eventually becomes ceremonial. This new roster idea says something radical. Leadership can come from dominance, not tenure. Now let's talk frontcourt depth, because this is where things get controversial quickly. Cameron Brink makes the team not because she has proven herself internationally, but because she represents the future of the position. At 6 feet 4 inches, she can switch, protect the rim, and space the floor. She's modern. She's versatile. Yes, she tore her ACL and missed most of her rookie season, and that matters. But this roster isn't about Paris. It's about Los Angeles 2028 and beyond. Angel Reese also makes the team, and her role is very clear. Rebound, defend, bring physicality, and do the dirty work. That's it. She averaged a double-double as a rookie, set records on the glass, and plays with an edge that international games demand. She is not running an offense. She is not a focal scorer, and that's fine. Every team needs players who understand and embrace role clarity. Rookie Big Kiki provides size and flexibility off the bench. Rhyne Howard doesn't make it. Veronica Burton doesn't make it. Not because they aren't talented, but because roster construction matters more than individual resumes. This team already has its guard rotation locked in. And then there's the decision that will cause the loudest backlash. Brittney Griner doesn't make the team. That statement alone is enough to set social media on fire. A two-time Olympic gold medalist, a defensive anchor, one of the most dominant centers of her generation. But she's 33 years old. The mobility isn't the same anymore. International teams have gotten faster. Spacing punishes. Traditional bigs are being punished now. Griner is still productive, but Cameron Brink gives you far more flexibility in how you defend and switch. That isn't disrespect. That's evolution. This is what many people are missing. The rest of the world has caught up. Australia isn't scared anymore. France isn't intimidated. Spain, China, and Canada are running modern systems. They are shooting threes. They are switching everything. Team USA can't win simply by being bigger and older anymore. They need to be faster, younger, and more adaptable, and that's exactly what this roster represents. If you average out the ages, this team lands in the mid-20s. That's a massive shift from Paris, where the average age hovered around 30. This is a reset. A declaration that the Tokyo-Paris era is over, and that the future starts now. The guard play alone would overwhelm most international defenses. Clark stretches the floor to half court. Young attacks mismatches. Plum punishes second units. Buchers defends elite wings. The front court runs the floor, rebounds, and switches. There is no weak link. But here's the deeper issue nobody wants to address. USA basketball doesn't like being challenged. Leaving Caitlin Clark off the Olympic roster wasn't just a basketball decision. It was a message. It said rookies need to wait their turn. That popularity doesn't matter. That tradition comes first. And the backlash proved the audience doesn't see it that way anymore. Clark's WNBA games were regularly pulling over 1 million viewers, with some peaking above 2 million. Meanwhile, Olympic women's basketball, while still strong, didn't see the massive spike many expected. The optics were bad. Fans felt ignored. And once fans feel ignored, an institution starts losing control of the narrative. This roster debate isn't about disrespecting legends. It's about asking a very uncomfortable question. At what point does loyalty become liability? Chelsea Gray, Brittney Griner. These are names that helped build the program. But Team USA is not a retirement ceremony. It's supposed to be the best 12 players available. Not the most decorated, not the most familiar. And if that standard changes, the door opens to a new era. One led by Caitlin Clark. And here's the part that truly unsettles people inside the system. This isn't just a basketball conversation anymore. It's a power conversation. Because once you accept that Caitlin Clark belongs on Team USA, everything else has to be re-evaluated. Selection committees lose leverage. Seniority loses weight. And the old, unspoken rules stop working. For decades, USA basketball has operated on an understood hierarchy. You pay your dues. You cycle through World Cups. You sit behind veterans. You wait. That system worked when the talent gap between the United States and the rest of the world was massive. You could afford inefficiencies. You could carry ceremonial roster spots. You could prioritize comfort over optimization and still win gold by double digits. That margin no longer exists. What Caitlin Clark represents isn't just elite production. It's inevitability. Her presence forces defenders to pick her up at half court. It bends coverage. It opens lanes before a play even begins. International defenses aren't built to deal with that kind of gravity for 40 minutes. And once you acknowledge that, it becomes impossible to justify keeping her out for the sake of experience, because experience doesn't stretch the floor. This is why the debate around veterans feels so emotionally charged. Fans aren't rejecting legacy, they are rejecting stagnation. They are tired of watching Team USA operate like a museum instead of a laboratory. And that frustration only grows when younger players are clearly outperforming older ones in real time. Look at the guard comparison again. Strip away the resumes. Strip away the medals. Focus only on current impact. Clark creates more shots for teammates. Buchers defends more positions. Jackie Young gives you two-way reliability. Kelsey Plum brings instant offense without ego. When you stack that against an aging guard battling injuries, the decision becomes less about respect and more about honesty. And honesty is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to admit that a finals MVP isn't a lock anymore. It's uncomfortable to say that a two-time Olympic gold medalist might be better suited as a mentor than as a contributor. But that discomfort is the cost of staying ahead. Other countries have already paid it. The United States is just late to the conversation. The same logic applies to the frontcourt. Brittany Griner has been a cheat code for years, but cheat codes eventually expire. International teams now hunt switches. They pull bigs into space. They force lateral movement. And once that happens, size alone isn't enough. Versatility becomes king. That's why players like Cameron Brink matter. Even with the injury risk, Brink isn't just a center, she's a schematic answer. She allows Team USA to switch without panic. She provides rim protection without anchoring the defense to the paint. She fits where the game is going, not where it's been. Angel Reese fits that future too, in a very specific way. Not as a star, not as a focal point, but as a role enforcer. Every great international team needs someone who thrives in chaos, someone who rebounds through contact, embraces physical play, and doesn't care about touches. Reese's value skyrockets when expectations are clear. On Team USA, she wouldn't be asked to do too much, and that's exactly why she would succeed. This is what makes this roster concept so threatening to the old guard. It's logical. It's coherent. And it wins basketball games on paper without leaning on nostalgia. Which brings us to the real elephant in the room: marketing. USA Basketball doesn't like to admit it, but visibility matters now more than ever. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player, she's a ratings driver. She moves tickets. She's a cultural figure. Pretending that doesn't matter is disingenuous. The league knows it. The networks know it. And the fans definitely know it. Leaving her off the Olympic roster didn't protect the integrity of the program. It damaged it. It created a perception problem. It made Team USA look disconnected from the moment. And once that perception sets in, winning alone doesn't fix it. The next Olympic cycle won't be judged solely by gold medals. It will be judged by relevance, engagement, and whether fans feel represented by the roster on the floor. That's why this conversation keeps resurfacing months later, because deep down, people already know the truth. The future has already arrived. The only question is whether the people making the decisions are willing to acknowledge it before the gap closes completely. Because the rest of the world isn't waiting. They are developing shooters. They are prioritizing pace. They are building systems that punish hesitation. Team USA can evolve now on its own terms, or be forced to adapt later under pressure. And that's why this roster debate matters. It's not about disrespecting legends. It's about refusing to let tradition become a liability. It's about choosing players who reflect the modern game instead of clinging to memories of the old one. And most importantly, it's about making sure that when the next gold medal is won, it actually feels like the best team in the world earned it, not just the most familiar one. So I'll ask again. Who's on your team? Who are you cutting? And who do you think USA Basketball is too afraid to move on from? Drop it in the comments, because this isn't just a debate anymore. It's a reckoning. If you like this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and stay locked in. Because the future of Team USA basketball is being decided right now, whether the people in charge are ready or not.